Outer Wilds is one of those games that you just have to play at some point in your life. Very few people, and I'll get to that in a minute, will say negative things about it because it is genuinely a good game, regardless of whether you're into the type of game, art style, vibes, or genre. And as someone who just finished playing it like a week ago, it will stick with you long after you finish the game because it is quite the experience. And it is really that special. That said, does the game actually live up to the hype? Did I actually like Outer Wilds? And will you like it too? Welcome back, I'm Inigo, this is Scrambled Cakes, and today I'm going to talk about the Outer Wilds. It's just, I just want to process all of my thoughts and my experience playing this game because it is really quite special. So buckle up because in this video I'll reflect and talk about my experience playing Outer Wilds, what I really think, including all the good and the bad things that I went through in this game. And in case you're worried, yes, this will be a spoiler-free video. As a matter of fact, the background footage you're seeing right now is just me dicking around the solar system, trying very hard to avoid any major plot spoilers. And yes, I'll say what everyone else keeps saying about this game. If you're already serious and wanting to play this game in the future, it's probably best for you to come into this game knowing as little as possible because, as I'll talk about later on, discovery is a key element in enjoying a game like Outer Wilds, and I'll go even further and say that it is a key element in enjoying a game like this one. If you absolutely hate any kind of spoilers, this is your last warning. Click off and play the game, but before you do that, maybe bookmark this one and then just get back to me in maybe a couple of weeks or days, if you finish the game that fast. But if you need extra reassurance, as someone who's worked in marketing for a long time now, I can't talk about stuff and make you understand things without actually getting into talking about said stuff too deeply, too much, so I think we're good. So I'm gonna start with talking about what kind of game Outer Wilds is, the good, and then the bad, and then my final thoughts, like should you actually play this or maybe not. So what kind of game is Outer Wilds? Well, it's a new genre called Metroidvania, from Metroidvania. So Metroidvania are huge open world, usually 2D platforming maps where certain areas are locked out to you until you gain the abilities or access to new areas, allowing for a non-linear gaming experience, and potentially unique playthroughs every single time. Put things into perspective, if 2D platformers like Mario Brothers is dependent on memory recall, the more you play each level, the better you tend to get at it because you tend to memorize everything else. Metroidvanias require you to actually learn the world at large in order to eventually finish the game. So Metroidvanias, thus, are like Metroidvanias in the sense that progression is limited until you actually learn details about the game world from which it would then unlock new areas, giving you this progression. And this is why it's best to come in blind to a game like Outer Wilds, and why most people who've played Outer Wilds would like to have their memories playing this game like completely wiped off, like if the tech actually existed. Because once you figure out that X is Y, and Y allows you to go to location Z, and the reason why what happened in location Z was because of A, B, and C, then that's how you're able to go to location D, C, and E. Something like that. Hey everyone, Editor Me here. I didn't expect to introduce myself so early in the video, but after listening to all of that, I realized it doesn't really make any sense, and it's confusing as hell. Here's a better analogy. Metroidvanias are like following a series of clues in a game where you're hunting down pirate treasure on an island using a pirate map. Once you know where X is on the island, you can pretty much waltz onto where X marks the spot in your next playthrough to immediately get the treasure at the start of the game. That's as simple as how I can describe the genre. Now back to the video. Most Metroidvanias require you to have some sort of key or some kind of ability like a double jump to reach certain new areas in order to progress and finish the game. Outer Wilds has none of that. I can get someone off the street, make them play the game without knowing anything, and if I tell them to do exactly what I tell them to do, on a fresh save, even on a brand new Steam account, they'll be able to finish the game easily with my knowledge and my guidance. As a matter of fact, this whole game can be finished within 10 minutes, or at least that's not even like the speedrunning record, but that's like the basic speedrunning record. Assuming of course you know everything you need to know about the world and its rules, and you can do the speedrun with barely any glitching whatsoever. Unlike most speedrunning challenges that, require you to glitch through maps, you can literally skip the entire line and just go straight into the ending, if that's what you wanted to do. Again, assuming if you knew every single thing that you needed to know in order to do the things that you need to do to end the game. But part of the joy in playing a game like Outer Wilds is the experience, is the journey, the unraveling of the threads, and understanding the history and the story of this game's world. Because the story and the worlds that the devs made here is actually what's very cool and compelling, and that's what makes a game like this one stick. Now that we at least know what kind of game Outer Wilds is and what makes it special, what are the good things about Outer Wilds? Number 1, the world is alive. Not necessarily in the GTA, lots of NPCs kind of way, but the world itself, which is basically a solar system, because it obeys the laws of physics. It simulates it. So it's a very interactive world. Actually, interactive doesn't quite seem to cut it. Interactable maybe would be more appropriate. Basically, there are planets, moons, and the sun. Each of these have gravity. Different planets and the moons and the sun have different gravities and then different rules in how to explore them. And if you know a thing about gravity and how certain entities in the universe does weird things with gravity, well, no spoilers, but those are in the game too. It's probably the best simulation of an actual solar system, but made accessible and scaled down in a video game form. Kind of like how a racing game with good enough car physics or a game like GTA can give you an idea of how cars feel to drive it, but at the same time, driving an actual car will be different in real life. Outer Wilds lets you loose in the solar system, unless you actually experience space travel in a fun way that isn't too simplistic, that also isn't too serious or complex either. And I've played a few spacefaring games before, not a lot, but this one actually feels like its own thing. It's a standalone, self-contained package. Another way to look at it is how Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag has a miniaturized Caribbean for you to go pirating in, and while it pales in comparison to more hardcore Age of Sail ship management or combat games, even naval combat like in Empire Total War, Assassin's Creed Black Flag captures the exact feel you'd want in a pirate game, in a casual but still challenging and skill-based way, and it's the same thing with Outer Wilds. You do need to know how to move across 3D space, either piloting your ship or using your jetpack, but it doesn't bog you down with logistic stuff like fuel management or balancing cargo load or micromanaging the damage taken by your ship. The second reason that makes this good is that there's no hand-holding and there are no markers for anything. Now this may be a good thing or a bad thing, but what is great is not just that you get to explore the solar system in your own terms, you're also rewarded for paying attention to certain details. Even more than that, it rewards you for experimenting based on the hypotheses you make as a result of observing and learning the world around you. Again, all in your own terms. And because this isn't an if-then game that's, programmed to play a predetermined animation a certain way if you press certain buttons. No. This solar system simulates physics in real time so that these experiments can vary and actually differ between different playthroughs. To put things into perspective, this game is from 2019, and it looks like a game from 10 years before it released, in the PS3 era, which isn't a jab at its graphics because I want you to understand that even if the graphics and the models are fairly simplistic and not that super detailed, this game ran on my Steam Deck at a constant 14 to 15 watts, with TDP limited at 10 watts, so I can squeeze out a bit more battery life, like maybe an extra 30 minutes, nothing crazy. But if you're curious, this didn't impact the performance at all. Why am I telling you all of this? What this all means is that there really is a lot more going on under the hood than most people realize, which is how far this game actually goes to simulate physics in real time. So exploration actually feels a lot more organic, like you are interacting with the world, with the solar system, and experimenting. And this is one of the best ways that a no hand-holding system was implemented in a game that I've played in the longest time. Another great thing about the no hand-holding is the non-linearity of the experience playing Outer Wilds. Now, to clarify, there is one linear story from start to finish that's locked in. You can't really change any of that. There is no such thing as multiple or branching timelines due to player choice, but what is non-linear is your experience. Yes, the game technically has 6 endings, with about 5 of those being more like game over screens, so make no mistake, this is a linear game. That said, because of how random the world is and how random you'll likely pick your first destination, and then another layer on top of that, how randomly you'll pick the location to land on each planet you decide to explore, and then which direction you start walking towards the moment you land your spacecraft, your experience playing this game for the first time will be unique to you. The third really good thing that Outer Wilds does really well is the world building. It is second to none, and if you like lore dumps and investigations and figuring things out, this is the game for you. Related to the no hand-holding bit, if you enjoy playing detective, or in this case ancient detective, aka archaeologist, by going through logs and files and Fallout terminals, this game is all of that. Matter of fact, this game is that. Yes, you can make actual observations about the world with your own 2 eyes, or in this game, like 4 eyes, literally 4 eyes, that's not a spoiler. But for these details to actually get logged in-game, you will need to read through the right files, for lack of a better term, and learn about the plot through there. Conveniently, there's going to be a rumor map in your ship's log that helps you connect all of these dots together to either figure out where to go next, what to explore now that you can actually explore it after learning about a completely different thing that then tells you hey, if you tried this thing in that location, you'll be able to do this other thing that you previously couldn't do before in this other location before that. That's just all over the place. And again, for all the true detectives out there who want to piece things together for yourselves where you're never restricted by the confines of the game world, like in a lot of mystery games, this is the one thing that Outer Wilds does truly right. Because of how you interact with the world, exploration is a lot more organic than something that's like in a point-and-click game with set rules. And if you're a casual player who wouldn't want to have another batch of homework to do after a long day at school or at work, again, the game logs all of these findings in the rumor thing, so you're covered there too. You just need to find those things, discover those logs and those details, log them, and you're good to go. Now, with all the good points I've identified, what are the bad things about Outer Wilds? Coincidentally, they're more or less the same thing. First is there's too much science and too many things to pay attention to. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's just the way that it's implemented in the game with all the literal moving parts floating around. The solar system. Again, without giving away too much, you are required to understand a bit of the previously mentioned advanced concepts in physics, specifically the ones that deal with space-time, and thus you have to use your brain a lot more actively. And if you want to just chill and you're in the mood to switch off your brain and or just put on some podcasts or videos in the background, which you can still do, but Outer Wilds might not be the best game for that. Because from time to time you will need to pause those podcasts or videos in order to actually understand things. So you oscillate between playing archaeologist in-game, trying to figure out what happened and what's happening in the world that you're actually living in, and then brushing up on scientific concepts through a bunch of Wikipedia pages, because statistically, I'm assuming, like me, you aren't a physics major, so these things wouldn't come naturally to you. And for some people, definitely in some of the times I booted up the Steam Deck for this, I was just not in the mood for some high concepts in science and physics. Because it's not so much that the topic itself is unapproachable. A game like Half-Life famously deals with portals, aliens, and other dimensions very casually because those concepts kind of exist to the side of the main game, which is an FPS shooter. So if all you care about is FPS shooting a bunch of aliens, you don't need to worry about alternate dimensions and gamma radiations. In Outer Wilds, these science concepts are front and center, and because this is a Metroidvania where knowledge quite literally is how you progress through the game, there could be a lot more wrapping your brain around how certain things behave that you might not be in the mood for at the time. Like if you were watching Inception, you could still enjoy the movie for at least the heist aspect, and definitely the action, but if they make the dream layering mechanics super inaccessible and difficult to understand, you won't be able to fully enjoy the movie because it's just gonna fly over your head if you're not paying the minimum amount of attention that's required to actually keep up with the movie. It's the same thing with Outer Wilds because again, number 2, there's no in-game handholding or guides whatsoever. Yes, you can look up stuff online, but I implore you not to do that because at least from my experience, when I did look some stuff up, I was at least super close to figuring it out, or I've already figured out the next step, and I just didn't want to spend the next hour or so trying to figure out how to execute those things. But I can concur, doing it this way, looking up stuff, does ruin the experience. But at the same time, unlike more conventional Metroidvanias where all you need to do is get the MacGuffin and then go to the door or cliff thing that you previously couldn't access and just press Y to activate or something like that, or do the new ability like the double jump that you previously couldn't do, this is a physics simulated solar system where things like gravity are exaggerated, and while the beauty is the fact that there are many ways to skin a cat, as it were, there's at least one guaranteed official solution for all the problems in the game that are designed by the devs, and they're very smart in the way they're executed. The problem is, sometimes you need to figure out how to do that too. And when you have one chance to try and get better at that, but every time you need 15 minutes to get to that point, just for you to fail because you didn't fully quite get it yet, at that point, you'll just end up doing the same thing over and over and over again, and then it becomes more tedious than rewarding. Things end up being too unforgiving when you know what to do, but A, you just don't know how to do it yet, or B, you suck at the middle point of going from point A to the point B that you want to explore so that you can learn more about the game and eventually finish it. And for someone who has all the time in the world and none of the responsibilities, I implore you, do not look up any spoilers or guides on the internet. Do not look up any YouTube videos. Enjoy this free time or this phase of your life while you still have it, and just figure it out playing Outer Wilds. But for adults with jobs and chores and things to do so that the bills are still paid and the lights don't go out, retreading and exploring the same locations in the same exact order over and over again just doesn't make sense. So if you're in that camp, like I am, my advice is to just look up stuff sparingly and as much as possible, go through the in-game notes in your ship first. And if not, literally point your screen at any new direction that interests you or drives your curiosity, and try exploring something new there. Eventually, you will come across the right clues that will help you get from point A to point B that you can't access right now. And trust me, there are multiple redundancies in the clues throughout all the clues, so if you can't access point B, eventually there's going to be at least 2 locations where you can find clues pertaining to that point B that you're trying to get throughout the whole solar system. And the design of all of this is just actually very smart. That said, all of this should have been a lot more manageable and easier to do if there wasn't too much reading, or at least have reading set up the right way. So throughout the game you will read logs. However, these logs read more like email back and forths and transcripts where the subjects even joke with each other and leave some throwaway details here and there. It's actually quite easy to read. You do not need to record everything like Robert Pattinson does in the Batman movie with his nightly journaling thing, because you do get a summary of your findings in your ship's log. While these summaries are nice, it would have been much nicer if the actual dialogue could have been saved or recorded, especially since you're already using a device in-game to translate or interpret these things to begin with, and that logically makes sense in that game's world. It will make sense once you play it. In my playthrough, because you do have this timer breathing down your neck, and there are certain dangers in exploration that do catch up to you that eventually kill you, I personally find myself rushing reading through these logs way too quickly, way too much, because I know you're gonna die a lot in this game, and I just wanted to make the most out of each life or journey that I had. So I wasn't able to really take in that layer of the story as much as I would have liked to. Again, while the summary is helpful and gives you the bullet point summaries, I feel like it would have been a lot more enjoyable if you had access to these logs again, and you can review these logs safely on a planet somewhere or in the middle of space in your ship. Experientially, that's just how I would have preferred it, just so I can reassure myself that I'm not missing any detail, trying to figure out what to do next or how the certain thing works exactly. But it's also nice to have the summary that we have in the game as sort of like a quick notes in case you need to check something really fast in a pinch. That said, you can only access that in the ship, and it would have been nicer too if you had a device that you can check things on the fly. And I don't think that lore-wise it shouldn't have been that big of a problem. But yeah, these are the main things that are holding back Outer Wilds from being like a really flawless game for me. So these are my thoughts after having finished playing the base game, Outer Wilds. I just got the DLC, gonna start through it this weekend maybe, because this is one of the games that just hooks you. It stays with you. I wouldn't say changes you, but it leaves a mark. And for me, I liked it. I didn't exactly like it to the level that most of the internet would hype you up to feel like liking it. But I mean, I'm making a video about it and putting my thoughts on YouTube, so there's that. But there is one more question that still needs to be answered. Should you play it? Yeah, why not? Honestly, it's not that expensive, and I think it goes on sale from time to time. So just, if you're really in a pinch, get it on sale. I wouldn't be mad paying full price at this. As far as communities go, Outer Wilds has some of the best, most positive, helpful, and supportive people that I've seen who are just hell-bent on helping you get the best experience possible out of this one and only first-time playthrough of Outer Wilds. Because there really is no playing this game the second time and have it more or less still be the same experience as the first time. But at the same time, I really don't like the Fight Club attitude of you absolutely cannot talk about this game. And I don't think it's the right move because it's so exclusionary that this game feels kinda cultish, not gonna lie, and so unapproachable to the casual gamer just looking to explore new games to play. But at the same time, you really cannot talk about Outer Wilds without ruining the game for new players, because talking about it gives it away, and once you know these things, that's literally game over. It's like knowing that trick in playing tic-tac-toe where you end up checkmating your opponent with the 2 middle square finishers and winning every time, because at that point, that's it. The game's boring from now on because you'll win every single time. It's the same thing with knowing things about Outer Wilds. So in a sense, you do have to come in blind whenever you do end up starting a game of Outer Wilds, because that's the best way to actually experience a game like this one. But at the same time, just like in real life, I think we can give people a vague enough roadmap so that they can expect enough of what life is going to be like without too much spoilers or telling them exactly what to do with their lives based on how you've done it so far. Because that's just not going to work, like in real life or in this type of game. Let people make mistakes and enjoy things, for better or for worse. As a person watching this, I hope I was only able to give you the vaguest idea of what this game is actually about, and I hope you still don't understand what Outer Wilds is about, because should you decide to play it, I hope it ends up being something special for you. My hope is that I was able to explain to you what kind of game the Outer Wilds is and what you can expect, because one of the things that makes this game work the way it does is the exact opposite of what makes most games work the way that they do. You will die a lot in a game like this, and you will have a timer chasing you and breathing down your neck, and all I want to say is that it's all part of the process, and before you put down your controller and give up on this type of game, you owe it to yourself to at least try and enjoy the process first. Have fun with it. And if you think you're up for that, go get Outer Wilds now if you haven't already, and if it's already in your library and you haven't started it yet, go get on it. It took me about 2 weeks to finish it, playing about maybe 3 or 4 hours average a day, but you might finish it sooner depending on how much more time you can dedicate to this per day. Up to you. And this is really great on the Steam Deck, not just because the ergonomics makes you feel like you're piloting the spacecraft, but also if you're busy, the sleep or auto pause mode is a godsend. You can quite literally pause in the middle of an exploration run and continue right on that spot if you have to, giving you the ability to save your progress, unlike on regular PC on console. Anyways, that's going to be it for me for now. I do not want to give away too much, at least more than I already have, but I hope I've given you enough of an idea to at least help nudge you to actually try this if you can, or if you're interested, because it is indeed quite the experience and I highly recommend that you go for it. If you've enjoyed this one or found it helpful, like the video, sub to the channel, and share this one to someone who you might think enjoys some Outer Wilds in their life. I do videos like these on the channel, so check out my other stuff, and I hope to see you in the next one. I'm Inigo, signing off for now. Bye!